I'd been in that corner office for 11 years, and in the end, I wasn't even worth eye contact. They say there are moments you'll never forget. Your wedding, the birth of your children, the day you close your biggest deal. But there's another kind too. The one where everything you built gets swept off the table like crumbs no one wants to clean up. That kind of moment carves itself into your memory like a scar, permanent, invisible to others. But you feel it every time you blink. My name is David Mercer. I'm 52 years old, and until that morning, I was Senior Vice President of Enterprise Accounts at Kirilon Group, a global logistics and supply chain tech firm with 38 offices and over $800 million in annual revenue. My division was responsible for 69% of that. Not a rounding error, not a support role. I was the engine. The meeting was listed as a quarterly sync on my calendar. I almost didn't think twice about it, but when I walked in and saw no coffee, no small talk, no laptop in front of her, just a crisp white folder sitting between us like a corpse on a slab, I knew. She didn't bother standing, just glanced up with that practiced smile Silicon Valley churns out like a factory product. She looked like she belonged on the cover of a Forbes 30 under 30 list, which, ironically, she had been 2 years prior. That smile flickered when I didn't sit immediately. "David," she said, gesturing like I was late to class, "thanks for making time." I sat slowly. I kept my hands folded. I said nothing. She opened the folder like it was a menu. "I want to be clear. This isn't about performance. Your numbers are, well, let's just say I'd be thrilled if our digital team even touched a third of your conversion rate." She flipped a page like it bored her. "But we're shifting." I raised an eyebrow. "Shifting?" She nodded, then gave a soft exhale. "We're evolving our brand. Legacy sales architecture, like what you've built, isn't adaptable in the current ecosystem. Our focus is on digital traction, algorithmic targeting, and influencer-anchored activation models." I stared at her. I wasn't even sure half those words belonged in the same sentence. She must have taken my silence as resistance. She continued, "You're still playing by rules that don't apply anymore. Cold calls, personal client visits, long-term trust cultivation. It's inefficient. We need viral reach, not dinners at steakhouses." "Those dinners generated $250 million in contracts," I said, my voice low. She smiled again, but it didn't touch her eyes. "Exactly. You built something remarkable. But now we need someone who can build something different." Then she slid the folder toward me. Termination paperwork, a pen clipped to the top. She didn't even flinch. For a moment, I couldn't move. Not out of shock, though yes, I was stunned, but because the entire absurdity of it pressed down like a weight. I thought about my team, about the 10-year relationships I nurtured with clients who called me on my birthday and asked about my kids, about the nights I'd stayed late to save accounts she probably didn't even know existed, about the merger I helped secure that saved the company during the 2015 downturn. I had played the game, and I'd played it well. Now I was being told the board wanted flash, optics, metrics that look good in a TikTok recap, not a balance sheet. I reached for the pen, signed every page without a word, then closed the folder and placed it back between us. She looked vaguely surprised. "No questions?" "No," I said. "Just one request. If you're going to replace me, don't hire someone who's never made a sale in person. The numbers won't like it." She laughed lightly. "The numbers only care about impressions and clicks now." I stood, extended my hand. She hesitated a beat, then took it. Her handshake was firm, polished, practiced. I held it for half a second longer than necessary. Just enough for her to realize I wasn't leaving because I'd failed. I was leaving because someone up top decided relevance came with a ring light. As I turned to leave, I saw the reflection of my team across the open office. They hadn't heard anything, but they knew. You could see it in their posture. A few stood up slowly. No one spoke. Not even Kevin, who'd followed me to this company from our last job. But every single eye was on me, watching. I didn't say goodbye, not out of bitterness, but because they didn't deserve to carry the guilt of silence. I walked past the interns. One had headphones draped around his neck. Another froze halfway through a sandwich. Both stared at me like I was a ghost walking out of a building already under construction for something newer, shinier, emptier. In the elevator, I didn't press the button right away. I looked at my reflection in the metal door. 52. No ring light, no viral reach. Just results. Just decades of real work. When the doors slid shut, I didn't flinch. I didn't look back. The first Monday after I left Kirillon, I sat at my kitchen counter nursing black coffee in a mug that still had the company logo on it. It looked ridiculous now, silver foil lettering that read, "Redefining the Future of Logistics." I ran my thumb over the fading print and laughed under my breath. They hadn't redefined anything. They'd just replaced execution with theater. For the first time in years, I had no calendar alerts, no Monday all hands, no pinging messages about onboarding. It was quiet, not peaceful, just silent in that slightly menacing way a room feels after an argument. I gave myself exactly 1 week to sulk, reset, and rebuild whatever dignity I could. Then I opened my laptop and started sending emails. Not pitches, just check-ins. The first message was to Clara Jensen at Northport Maritime. We'd done $38 million in cross-port infrastructure together over the last decade. My subject line was simple. Hey. The body read, "Not at Kirillon anymore. Just wanted to thank you for a great 10 years. No sales pitch, just wanted to say that." She responded in 6 minutes. "Heard the news. Outrageous. Call me." I called. Clara didn't bother with pleasantries. "I've been waiting for this day, David. Your numbers held that entire company together. Everyone knows it. My teams felt the shift. Slick decks, cute slogans, no follow-through." I leaned back in my chair. "So it's not just me." "It's not just you," she said flatly. "They've tried to automate human relationships. Doesn't work." That phone call turned into 3 more that afternoon. By Wednesday, I had reconnected with 8 former clients. Every single one of them echoed the same thing. Kirillon had gotten shiny but shallow. That Friday, I met Jason Tran for a beer. He'd been VP of Digital Strategy before they axed him in the restructure. We used to call him the silent scalpel. He wasn't loud, but his insights cut deep. We met at a no-frills bar downtown where the tables were slightly sticky and the wings were criminally underpriced. Jason spotted me first. "David, didn't expect to see you out of a blazer." I shrugged. "Didn't expect to be out of a job." He raised his glass. "To forced freedom." We didn't talk about revenge, not at first. We talked data. ROI trends, lead decay over time. Things that don't go viral but keep companies afloat. He pulled out a napkin halfway through and started sketching something. Just flow arrows, metrics, relationship cycles. I stared at it. What if we kept it this simple? "You mean not building a fake metaverse logistics dashboard to impress VCs?" He deadpanned. "Exactly." We sat there for another hour, bouncing ideas. No fluff, just foundation. By Saturday morning, I was in my home office. Really just a spare bedroom I'd converted years ago when working remote was still considered a privilege. I opened a blank legal pad and wrote across the top in bold block letters. They forgot the core. Underneath, I listed the basics, what clients actually cared about. Timelines met, metrics delivered, relationships honored, the kind of things you can't replace with an algorithm, no matter how shiny the dashboard. I called a lawyer friend and asked about registering an LLC. He asked what I wanted to name it. "Just something clean," I said. "No buzzwords." A pause. "Okay, but what's the theme?" "Legacy," I said, "and performance." I settled on Mercer Advisory. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. I filed that night. Over the next few days, I worked like a man possessed. I built a simple landing page myself. Nothing fancy. Just white background, black text, 1 line at the top. "We speak results." I wrote every word of it. No branding team, no animated explainer videos, just facts. The clients I'd worked with, the numbers I'd delivered, the money we'd saved them. I didn't even include a photo of myself. And the funny thing was, it felt good. I wasn't chasing validation anymore. I wasn't fighting for a seat at someone else's table. I was building my own. There were no interns watching me through glass walls now. No assistants typing meeting notes I didn't ask for. Just me, 1 desk, a whiteboard that still smelled faintly of dry erase, and an idea. That Monday, I sent out 1 more round of emails. This time, it was more direct. "Hey, I've launched something new. If you want to work together again, I'd love to chat. No pressure." 4 responses came back before lunch. I didn't smile yet, not fully, But something inside shifted. A coil that had been wound so tight over the years started to loosen. Not because I'd won anything, not yet, but because I finally remembered what it felt like to build something that mattered. They thought they'd buried me. Turns out they'd just handed me a shovel. The air in the co-working space buzzed with a low hum, phones vibrating, keys clacking, espresso machines hissing in the distance. It smelled like ambition and burnt coffee. We'd booked the smallest glass-walled conference room they had, and the receptionist had mispronounced my name twice. Nothing about the setup said power player, but that was fine. I didn't need flash. I needed traction. I stood at the head of the table while my team took their seats. Rachel, who had run regional client ops under me for 6 years. Nate, my quiet killer on data modeling. Marissa, a branding strategist with a background in finance, who knew that a viral campaign didn't matter if it tanked ROI. And Jason, from the bar that night, who was now officially head of digital performance. Lean, efficient, and sharp. We weren't a company yet. We were a strike team. Across from us sat Evelyn Shore, the senior procurement officer from Glaren Freight Systems. She didn't smile when she walked in. That was a good sign. Evelyn wasn't here for charm. She was here to be convinced. She set her leather-bound notebook on the table and folded her hands. You know this is competitive, David. I have Kirillan's proposal in front of me. It's got everything but a hologram. I nodded. Then let's not waste your time. We jumped in. No icebreaker, no inflated mission statements. Rachel led with pain points Evelyn herself had flagged in our past collaborations. Lag time in supply visibility, misaligned KPIs across nodes, inconsistent account servicing. Jason followed with a 5-slide analysis showing how those gaps had widened in the last 6 months under Kirillan's new structure. No editorializing, just data. Then I stepped forward and clicked the remote. What you're looking at, I said, is a side-by-side of Glaren's account performance from last year compared to the most recent quarter, under our former stewardship versus post-transition. Response latency is up 24%. Client-initiated contact has doubled, which means your people are chasing answers instead of getting them. And the worst part, you're paying more for it. Evelyn leaned forward. Nate chimed in with a projection model showing how reverting to our oversight, even under an independent contract, could close the loss gap in under 60 days. Marissa then broke down the communications audit she ran. 3 Kirellan campaigns sent to Glaren senior stakeholders, none of which had been opened, because they didn't solve problems. They just sold Polish. Evelyn said nothing for a long time. She tapped her pen once against the table. Let me guess, she finally said. You're offering all this with no AI dashboard, no influencer partnerships, and no strategic omni-channel journeys. Just a solution that works, I said, with numbers to back it up. She closed her notebook, gave a slight nod, and stood. You'll hear from us soon. After she left, no one said anything for a beat. Then Rachel exhaled. That either went really well or we're completely screwed. Jason grinned. I'll take a coin flip over being ignored. We packed up and left the co-working space just before sunset. I didn't sleep much that night, or the next. The wait was brutal. 6 days later, I was in my kitchen when my phone buzzed. Message from Evelyn. We're in. Formal letter by noon. I didn't respond right away. I just stared at the screen, the quiet roar of validation flooding my chest like air after a held breath. Then, I messaged the team. It didn't make the news. No one tweeted it. But behind the scenes, it shifted something. 3 days after that, a smaller client, one I hadn't even pitched, reached out. Heard you're back in the game. We'd like to talk. They signed within the week. Momentum. 2 weeks later, I was at an industry networking mixer in a sterile hotel ballroom. Name tag stuck to my chest like a scarlet letter. Half the room didn't know what to make of me now. The other half kept sneaking glances, but none of them asked me to leave. I stood near the bar sipping flat club soda when I overheard her voice, the CEO. She was holding court near the charcuterie station, surrounded by people too eager to disagree. We're evolving past legacy thinking, she said, laughing lightly. You can't build relevance on relationships anymore. That's just sentimental operations. Someone nodded too hard. Another chuckled nervously. I turned away before I could hear more, not out of anger, out of clarity. Because if she really believed that, if she truly thought trust was obsolete, then she'd already lost. She just didn't know it yet. Outside, the wind had picked up. I walked 2 blocks to my car, my phone buzzing again. Another client inquiry. I didn't smile, not yet. But I did let the door slam shut a little louder behind me. 2 months in, we had 5 clients signed, 12 in the pipeline, and a reputation that was beginning to echo. Quietly, precisely, like a pressure drop before a storm. We didn't have a headquarters, just rotating co-working rooms, late-night Zooms, and a Slack thread that buzzed with numbers, not memes. We moved lean and struck hard, and our clients loved it. Not because we were trendy, because we delivered. They were sick of hollow showmanship and thirsty for someone who still gave a damn about results. I was scanning an early analytics dashboard when the message came in, a name I hadn't seen in over a year. Devin Luce. He was still at Kirillon, buried somewhere in data ops. A good guy, too smart to speak up, too wary to leave. His subject line read, "You didn't get this from me." Attached was a PDF, no explanation, just a file titled Q2 Revenue Conversion Internal Use Only. I clicked. Page 1 hit like a slap, a 43% drop in net conversions. Direct client losses flagged in red. The legacy accounts division, my old team, was bleeding, not figuratively. Literally, if you consider cash flow a form of life. Page 2 was worse, a summary of churn risk analysis. 2 names circled, both were now ours. I leaned back, fingers steepled. I should have felt vindicated, but what I felt was restraint. The metrics were already speaking. I didn't need to shout. I just needed to stay the course. That same day, an email came through from a reporter at Business Velocity Weekly. She wanted to profile the veteran strategist quietly siphoning top-tier accounts from a major logistics firm. She had quotes. She had timelines. She wanted mine. I wrote back 2 words, no comment. She replied, "Really?" I typed, "Let the metrics talk." And they were. The expo came 2 weeks later, the Future Flow Annual Summit. 5,000 square feet of aggressive optimism, neon backdrops, branded lanyards, AR name tags. The kind of place where everyone smiles too much and forgets what they're even selling. We didn't rent a spotlight booth, just a modest square space tucked between a freight AI vendor and a sustainable packaging startup. No flashing screens, no giveaways, just a white tablecloth, 2 banners, and a printed slide deck on a brushed aluminum stand. By 10:30 that morning, our line was longer than both our neighbors combined. Jason walked over mid-afternoon with a grin. "We're being called the quiet table. It's making them nervous." "Good," I said. "Let them wonder." Clients we hadn't even pitched showed up, asked questions, took notes. One procurement head whispered, "Your deck actually made sense. Do you know how rare that is here?" I just nodded. We weren't here for applause. We were here to remind the room that substance still had a seat at the table. At 4 p.m., the main stage went dark. House lights dropped, music swelled. Fog machines kicked on. And there she was, the CEO, in a sleeveless jumpsuit, center stage under a spotlight. Her keynote presentation flashed across a massive screen, building velocity in the age of digital fluency. She spoke in polished sound bites about influence ecosystems and frictionless trust modeling. The crowd clapped on cue, but I saw them glancing at each other, subtle shifts in posture. People who used to believe now just looked confused. Then came the pivot. "We're moving beyond antiquated client service models," she declared. "Relationship sales are dead. We've evolved." A few people even clapped. But 20 minutes later, the room buzzed for a different reason. Word spread fast, whispers, texts, quiet murmurs between booths. One of their biggest legacy accounts, a name known across the supply chain world, had terminated their contract. They didn't name us publicly, but we knew. Marissa caught up with me near the back exit. "You feel that?" "What?" "That tension, like everyone just realized they bet on the wrong horse." I didn't respond, just looked out across the crowd, all those lanyards, all that light. And underneath it all, something shifting. Later that night, back at the hotel, I poured myself a scotch and opened my laptop. 5 new inquiries, 2 from clients we'd never met. 1 from an old contact who used to only return calls if your logo was printed on the side of a building. I didn't feel giddy, I felt steady. Redemption isn't loud, it's not fireworks. It's a line of numbers that no longer require your defense. It's when people who dismissed you start quoting you, when silence becomes your best marketing strategy. They could flood the space with influence. We had something better, evidence. Our new office wasn't flashy. 10th floor of a modest building in the West End, no lobby waterfall, no digital directory, just a brass plaque with our name, Mercer Advisory. The hallway smelled faintly of paint and fresh carpet glue. We'd moved in 3 weeks earlier, and already the walls felt lived in, bare but purposeful, just like we built the firm, quiet, clean, and razor sharp. There was no receptionist, just a simple open floor plan and a hum of concentration. Our whiteboard was filled with client retention metrics, growth curves, integration dates, numbers that meant something. No mission statements, no disruption pyramids, just reality. I passed by the boardroom where Jason and Rachel were fine-tuning a migration timeline for one of our newest clients. Marissa was on a call in the break room, pacing with quiet intensity, gesturing with her pen like a conductor. Nate had his headphones in, eyes fixed on his screen, probably running his 5th model of the morning. These people weren't chasing praise. They were building something that would outlast the noise. On my desk sat an old relic, my Carellon ID badge, laminated, frayed at the corners, still bearing the black and white photo they took the day I was promoted to senior vice president. Now, it lived under my coffee mug, pulling double duty as a coaster. I never looked at it directly anymore, but I liked knowing it was there, beneath the surface, doing something useful for once. My mug read, "Results over rhetoric," a gift from Jason, still made me smirk every time I reached for it. News had started leaking the week before, internal panic, board-level unrest, client losses they couldn't contain anymore. A special session had been called, behind closed doors at Carillon HQ. According to one of my more vocal former peers, the CEO had tried to pin the revenue collapse on what she called a legacy tech drag, a technical debt supposedly built before her arrival, conveniently aligning with my exit. But the exits told a different story. Big-name clients, long-term contracts, and premium accounts had all walked, and hadn't walked quietly. Some left public footprints, others signed NDAs with new vendors and moved on. But the numbers didn't lie. I got the text during lunch, from a junior employee who'd once shadowed me for a week during onboarding. Her name was Lila. She hadn't said much back then, just watched, took notes, asked smart questions. Her message now was short. "You didn't just carry the numbers. You carried the culture. We all knew it. We just weren't allowed to say it." I sat with that for a while. It wasn't praise. It was proof. Culture isn't what gets posted on glass walls and glossy fonts. It's how people move when no one's watching, how they work when they feel safe, valued, seen. Carellon never understood that part. They could trademark tone, but they couldn't build trust. That same afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring twice, then answered. A voice I hadn't heard in over a year. "David, this is Nicholas Heald. I'm sure you remember me." I did. Board member, big fish, used to hold court over quarterly reviews like a war general on a hill. "I won't waste your time," he said. "Some of us believe the direction of the company may have, let's say, wandered off course." "I've seen the numbers," I replied. "I'm sure you have. What I want to know is, would you consider coming back, not as an employee, as a partner, maybe a brand consultant? We'd give you room, redesign the strategy, new title, new scope." I paused, looked at the badge under my mug, then took a sip of coffee. "Appreciate the offer, Nicholas, but I already have a company." He chuckled lightly, masking his disappointment. "Can't say I didn't try." "You can tell the board this," I said. "You wanted someone who spoke the language of influence, but fluency in results was the only dialect that ever mattered. You just stopped listening." He didn't argue, just ended the call with a polite goodbye and an open door. I turned my phone face down and walked over to the whiteboard. Marissa had added 3 new client names under Q3 targets. One was a direct competitor to my old accounts. I picked up a marker and drew a simple arrow. No slogans, just direction. Outside, the city buzzed like it always had. But in here, we weren't chasing the next trend. We were building a legacy, and this time, it had my name on it.